Sometimes people come in your life just to take what you have at the present, and they cannot stick with you in your hard times. It is not a big deal. But what if your husband is that person? Before we begin, I request you to like the video, comment where you are from, and subscribe to our channel. So let's start. I grew up in a home that was overflowing with love. My parents, Robert and Sarah Williams, were the kind of people who didn't just tell you they loved you, they showed it in every action, every sacrifice, every moment of patience. We lived in a modest neighborhood in Charlotte, a tree-lined street where neighbors knew each other's names and kids played basketball in driveways until the streetlights came on. Our house was a 3-bedroom ranch-style home with a front porch where my father would sit every evening reading the newspaper and waving at people passing by. It wasn't fancy, but it was filled with warmth. My father, Robert Williams, was a man of deep integrity. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with graying hair at his temples and laugh lines around his eyes. He worked hard, I knew that much, but he never talked about money or status. He talked about principles. "Jasmine," he would say, sitting on the porch with me while watching the sunset, "money is a tool. It's like a hammer. You can use it to build a house, or you can use it to break things. But the hammer doesn't make you a carpenter. Your skill, your heart, your dedication, that's what makes you who you are." He taught me that a person's character was measured in how they treated people who could do nothing for them. He taught me that integrity was doing the right thing even when no one was watching. He taught me that wealth without wisdom was meaningless. My mother, Sarah Williams, was the heart of our family. She was petite and elegant, always dressed simply but beautifully. She had the kind of grace that made everyone feel comfortable in her presence. She was a listener. She could make you feel like the most important person in the world just by giving you her full attention. "Beauty isn't about your face or your body," she would tell me while braiding my hair on Sunday mornings. "It's about your spirit. It's about how you treat people when they can do nothing for you. It's about how you carry yourself when life gets heavy." She taught me about kindness. She taught me about resilience. She taught me that being soft didn't mean being weak, that sometimes the strongest people were the ones who could remain gentle in a cruel world. They raised me to value morals over money, understanding over judgment, and love over everything. Every Sunday we went to church together, not because we were obligated, but because it was a community. We served meals at the homeless shelter once a month. We donated clothes and toys at Christmas. My parents instilled in me a deep sense of responsibility to others. What I didn't know, what they kept hidden from everyone, including me, was that they were quietly building an empire. My father hadn't always been in logistics. He started as a truck driver, working long hours to support our family. But he had a brilliant mind for systems and efficiency. He saw opportunities where others saw obstacles. He started a small delivery company with one truck and a lot of determination. Over the years, that one truck became 10, then 50, then 500. By the time I was in high school, Williams Logistics was one of the largest private logistics companies in the Southeast. They had contracts with major retailers, manufacturing companies, and distribution centers. They employed over 2,000 people. But you would never know it by looking at my parents. My mother had also inherited land from her family, land that her grandfather had purchased in the 1940s when it was considered worthless. That land was now in the heart of Charlotte's growing commercial district. It was worth millions. They had invested wisely. They had diversified. They had built generational wealth. But they never flaunted it. We drove practical cars. My mother had a Honda, my father had a Ford F-150. We lived in our modest house. We shopped at Target. We clipped coupons. They wanted me to grow up understanding the value of a dollar. They wanted me to understand that work ethic mattered more than inheritance. They wanted me to find someone who would love me for who I was, not for what I might inherit. So I grew up thinking we were comfortable, but certainly not rich. I grew up humble, grounded, and focused on building my own life through my own merit. I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I majored in elementary education because I loved children. I loved the idea of shaping young minds, of being the kind of teacher who made a difference in a child's life. My parents supported my choice completely, even though I'm sure they could have pushed me toward business or law or something more practical for someone who would one day inherit a fortune. "Follow your heart, baby girl," my father said when I told him I wanted to be a teacher. "Money will come and go, but the impact you have on people's lives, that lasts forever." I graduated with honors. I got a job teaching third grade at a public elementary school in a lower-income neighborhood. The pay was modest, barely $40,000 a year, but I loved every minute of it. I loved seeing the light bulb moment when a struggling student finally understood a concept. I loved decorating my classroom with bright colors and motivational posters. I loved the hugs I got from kids who just needed someone to see them, to believe in them. I was happy, truly, deeply happy. I lived in a small apartment, drove a used Toyota Corolla, and budgeted carefully. My parents never supplemented my income. They wanted me to learn to live within my means, to understand financial discipline. "You're doing great, sweetheart," my mother would say when she visited my apartment and saw my thrift store furniture and hand-me-down dishes. "You're building character. That's worth more than any trust fund." I didn't know there was a trust fund. I met Michael Davis at a community fundraiser when I was 24. It was an event to raise money for after-school programs, and several local businesses had sent representatives. Michael was there representing his firm, a mid-sized financial advisory company. He was 28, confident, and impossibly handsome. He had smooth brown skin, a perfectly trimmed beard, and a smile that could light up a room. He approached me at the refreshment table. "You're Jasmine, right?" he said, extending his hand. "I heard you speak earlier about the literacy program you're running. That was impressive." "Thank you," I said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm and warm. "Can I buy you coffee sometime? I'd love to hear more about your work." It felt like more than a professional interest, but it was subtle enough that I couldn't be sure. We went for coffee the following week. He asked thoughtful questions. He listened intently. He told me about his own background. He had grown up in a working-class family, put himself through college, and worked his way up in the finance world. "I respect people who work hard," he said, looking at me with those warm brown eyes. "People who don't take shortcuts, people who do things the right way." I felt seen. I felt valued. We started dating. It was a whirlwind romance. Dinners, long walks through Freedom Park, conversations that lasted until 3 a.m. He was attentive in a way I had never experienced before. He sent me flowers at school. He surprised me with small, thoughtful gifts, a book by my favorite author, a scarf in my favorite color. He made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. "You're different, Jasmine," he would say, holding my hand as we walked. "You're real. You're not like the other women I've dated who are just interested in status and money. You have substance. You have a heart." I believed him. I believed every word. He met my parents after we had been dating for 3 months. We had dinner at their house, the same modest house I had grown up in. My parents were warm and welcoming, but I noticed my father watching Michael carefully. My father had always been protective of me, but there was something in his gaze that night, something cautious, something assessing. "What do you think of him?" I asked my mother later after Michael had left. "He seems nice, charming, very charming."
"But?" I pressed. "No buts," she said, but there was something in her tone that suggested she was holding back. "I just want you to be careful, sweetheart. Make sure he loves you for you." "Of course he does," I said. "Why wouldn't he?" My mother smiled sadly. "Just be careful." I didn't understand what she meant at the time. I thought she was just being an overprotective mother. Michael proposed to me after a year of dating. We were at the same park where we had our first real conversation, and he got down on one knee with a beautiful diamond ring. "Jasmine Williams," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You are the most incredible woman I have ever met. You're kind, you're smart, you're beautiful inside and out. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" I said yes through tears of joy. My parents seemed happy for me, but again, I noticed that cautious look in my father's eyes. "Have you thought about a prenup?" my father asked me one evening when we were alone. "A prenup?" I laughed. "Dad, I'm a teacher making $40,000 a year. What do I need a prenup for?" My father was quiet for a moment. "Just something to consider. You never know what the future holds." "Michael isn't marrying me for money," I said firmly. "He loves me. I know he does." My father nodded, but said nothing more. We got married 6 months later. It was a beautiful wedding, not extravagant, but lovely. We had it at a local church, followed by a reception at a modest venue. About 150 guests, family, friends, colleagues from my school and his office. Michael's parents were there. His father, David Davis, was a retired construction worker. His mother, Patricia, was a nurse. They were nice people, warm and friendly, though I noticed Michael seemed a bit embarrassed by them, by his father's loud laugh, by his mother's habit of telling stories about Michael's childhood. "They're just a lot," Michael said to me during the reception. "I wish they could be a bit more refined." I didn't like that comment, but I brushed it off. Everyone has complicated feelings about their parents, I told myself. The honeymoon was in Jamaica. It was perfect. Michael was attentive, romantic, and loving. We spent a week on the beach, swimming, eating delicious food, making love, and planning our future. "I want 3 kids," Michael said one night as we sat on the balcony of our resort watching the sunset. "Maybe 4. I want a big family." "I want that too," I said, leaning against him. "I can't wait to be a mother." "You're going to be an amazing mother," he said, kissing my forehead. "The kids are going to be so lucky to have you." I felt safe. I felt loved. I felt like I had found my person. We moved into a small house in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I continued teaching. Michael continued working at his firm, steadily climbing the ladder. We were building a life together. For the first year, marriage was everything I had dreamed it would be. We had date nights, we cooked dinner together, we talked about our days, we made plans for the future. And then I got pregnant. When I found out I was pregnant, I was overjoyed. I took the pregnancy test on a Saturday morning, saw the positive result, and immediately burst into tears of happiness. I surprised Michael by putting the test in a little gift box with a card that said, "Daddy-to-be." He opened it, looked at the test, and his face lit up with joy. "Are you serious?" he said, picking me up and spinning me around. "We're having a baby?" "We're having a baby," I laughed, holding on to him. "This is amazing," he said, kissing me deeply. "This is the best news ever. I'm gonna be a dad, you're gonna be a mom. Oh my God, Jasmine, this is incredible." We called our families immediately. My parents were thrilled, Michael's parents were excited, everyone was congratulating us, talking about baby names, talking about nurseries and showers, and all the joy that comes with a new life. For the first few weeks, Michael was wonderful. He was attentive, protective, constantly asking how I was feeling. He went with me to my first ultrasound appointment and held my hand while we watched a tiny little blob on the screen that would become our child. "That's our baby," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "That's our baby, Jasmine." But then things started to change. The first trimester was rough. I was sick all the time, morning sickness that lasted all day. I was exhausted. I could barely keep food down. I lost weight instead of gaining it. Michael became impatient. "Are you going to be like this the whole time?" he asked one evening when I was lying on the couch, too nauseous to cook dinner. "Because I can't handle 9 months of this." "I'm sorry," I said guiltily. "I can't help it. This is just how pregnancy is sometimes." "Well, it's not very attractive," he muttered, picking up his phone and scrolling. I felt a pang of hurt, but I tried to understand. He was probably just stressed about becoming a father. This was an adjustment for both of us. By the second trimester, the morning sickness had subsided, but my body was changing rapidly. My belly was growing, my breasts were getting larger, my hips were widening. I was glowing. Everyone told me I looked beautiful, radiant even. Except for Michael. He stopped complimenting me, he stopped touching me. When I tried to initiate intimacy, he pulled away. "I'm just tired," he would say, long day at work. But I noticed he was never too tired to go out with his friends. He was never too tired to stay up late watching sports or playing video games. He was just too tired for me. I tried to talk to him about it. "Michael, is everything okay between us?" I asked one night after he had rejected my advances for the third night in a row. "Everything's fine," he said, not looking up from his phone. "Why?" "You just seem distant," I said carefully. "Ever since I got pregnant, you've been pulling away." "I'm not pulling away," he said defensively. "I'm just adjusting. This is a big change, Jasmine. Give me some space." I gave him space. I tried to be understanding. I tried to be patient. But the distance kept growing. At my 20-week ultrasound, we got unexpected news. "Well," the ultrasound technician said, moving the wand around my belly and studying the screen, "it looks like there are 2 heartbeats here." "2?" I said, gripping Michael's hand. "2 heartbeats?" "Twins," the ultrasound technician confirmed with a smile. "Congratulations, you're having twins." I looked at Michael, expecting to see excitement or joy or at least surprise. But his face had gone pale, his jaw was tight. He looked horrified. "Twins?" he repeated flatly. "Yes," the technician said, oblivious to his tone. "Let me see if I can determine the sexes. Yes, it looks like you're having a boy and a girl. How wonderful." I was crying happy tears. Twins, a boy and a girl. I was going to be a mother to 2 babies. But Michael was silent. In the car afterwards, I tried to engage him. "Can you believe it?" I said, still in shock myself. "Twins! We're having twins! I know it's going to be more work, but it's also twice a blessing, right?" "Right," Michael said, his voice hollow. He was gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine, just processing." But he wasn't fine. Over the following weeks, Michael became more and more withdrawn. He started working late every night. He started finding excuses to be out of the house, errands that took hours, networking events, drinks with colleagues. And as my body grew to accommodate 2 babies instead of 1, his disgust became more obvious. By the time I was 6 months pregnant, I was huge. My belly was enormous, stretched tight with 2 growing lives. I had a basketball-shaped bump that was hard to walk, hard to sleep, hard to do anything comfortably. I had gained about 40 pounds, all belly and breasts. My face was fuller, my ankles were swollen, my skin was stretched so tight that I started to develop stretch marks, silver lines across my belly and hips that I tried to hide with cocoa butter and prayer. I felt beautiful in a primal, powerful way. I was growing life. I was doing what women have done for millennia. I was creating human beings inside my body. But Michael looked at me like I was repulsive. "Jesus Christ, Jasmine," he said one morning as I was getting dressed for work. "You're huge. Are you sure you should still be working? You look like you're about to pop." "I'm 6 months pregnant with twins," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course I'm big. This is normal." "It's not normal," he said, grimacing. "It's extreme. You look like you've swallowed a beach ball." I felt tears prick at my eyes. "That's a cruel thing to say, Michael." "I'm just being honest," he said, grabbing his briefcase. "Someone has to be. Maybe if you weren't eating so much, you wouldn't be so big." "I'm eating for 3, I said, my voice breaking. "The doctor said I need extra calories because I'm carrying twins." "Whatever," he said, walking out of the bedroom. "I'm late for work." He left without kissing me goodbye. I sat on the edge of the bed and cried. I cried because the man who promised to love me in sickness and in health was failing the very first test. I cried because I felt ugly. I cried because I was doing the hardest work of my life, growing two human beings, and instead of being celebrated, I was being criticized. But I had to pull myself together. I had to go to work. I had third graders counting on me. As my pregnancy progressed into the third trimester, Michael's behavior became more egregious. He was on his phone constantly, always texting, always smiling at his screen, laughing at messages that I wasn't privy to. When I asked who he was talking to, he would snap at me. "Nobody. Work stuff. Why are you so paranoid?" But I wasn't paranoid. I was observant. And what I observed was a man who was emotionally checking out of his marriage. He stopped asking how I was feeling. He stopped coming to doctor's appointments. He always had a conflict or a meeting that he couldn't reschedule. He started staying out late. Sometimes he wouldn't come home until after midnight, smelling like perfume and alcohol. "Where were you?" I would ask, sitting in the dark living room, unable to sleep because the babies were kicking and my back was aching. "Out with the guys," he would say dismissively. "You wouldn't understand. You're always so tired and cranky now. I need to decompress." I felt like I was losing my mind. Was I being unreasonable? Was I being too sensitive? Was this just normal stress from a couple preparing for twins? But deep down, I knew. I knew something was fundamentally wrong. My mother noticed too. "How's Michael doing with the pregnancy?" she asked one afternoon when she came to visit. She brought me a care package, pregnancy pillows, comfortable maternity clothes, homemade soup. "He's fine," I lied, not meeting her eyes. "Jasmine," she said gently, sitting down next to me, "talk to me. What's really going on?" And I broke down. I told her everything, the cruel comments, the distance, the late nights, the feeling that my husband was repulsed by me. My mother held me while I sobbed. "Do you want me to talk to him?" she asked, her voice tight with anger. "No," I said. "I don't want to make it worse. Maybe after the babies come, things will get better. Maybe he's just scared." Fear is not an excuse for cruelty. You remember that, Jasmine. You deserve to be cherished, especially now. But I made excuses for him. I convinced myself it was temporary. I convinced myself that once the babies arrived, once he held them in his arms, once he saw what we had created together, everything would change. I was so naive. One evening, when I was 7 months pregnant, huge, uncomfortable, but still mobile, Michael came home from work with an unusual request. "Get dressed," he said. "Something nice. We're going out to dinner." I was surprised. We hadn't been out together in weeks. "Really? Where?" "That new Italian place downtown. Reservations at 7. I was thrilled. I thought maybe this was a turning point. Maybe he was making an effort. Maybe he was trying to reconnect with me before the babies came. I put on my nicest maternity dress, a flowing navy blue dress that was flattering despite my enormous belly. I did my makeup carefully. I put on the necklace Michael had given me for our first anniversary. I looked in the mirror and tried to see myself through his eyes. Yes, I was huge. Yes, my face was rounder. Yes, I had gained weight. But I was still me. I was still Jasmine. I was still his wife. We drove to the restaurant in silence. Michael seemed tense, checking his phone repeatedly. The restaurant was beautiful. Dim lighting, elegant decor, soft music. We were seated at a table near the window. I tried to make conversation. "This place is lovely. Thank you for bringing me here." "Yeah," Michael said distractedly, looking around the restaurant instead of at me. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," he said curtly. We ordered food. I was hungry. I was always hungry now, feeding 2 growing babies, and I ordered the pasta dish I had been craving. Michael watched me eat with barely concealed disgust. "You're really going to eat all of that?" he asked. "I'm eating for 3, Michael," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "The doctor said I need extra calories because I'm carrying twins." "Whatever," he said, interrupting me. "I know what the doctor said, but do you have to eat like you're never going to see food again?" I put down my fork. My appetite vanished. I felt humiliated. And then a woman walked into the restaurant. She was stunning, tall, maybe 5'9", with long, straight, dark hair that fell like silk down her back. She had the kind of figure that looks effortless, slim waist, curvy hips, long legs that seemed to go on forever. She wore a tight red dress that clung to every curve, paired with stiletto heels that made her legs look even longer. She walked with confidence, turning heads as she made her way to the bar. I noticed Michael noticing her. His eyes followed her across the room. His body language changed. He sat up straighter, ran a hand through his hair, adjusted his collar. "I need to use the restroom," he said abruptly, standing up. I watched him in the reflection of the window as he walked, not towards the restrooms, but towards the bar where the woman was sitting. I watched him accidentally bump into her chair. I watched him apologize with an exaggerated charm. I watched her smile up at him, a slow, flirtatious smile. I watched them talk. I watched him lean in close. I watched her laugh, touch his arm, toss her hair. And then I watched the move that confirmed everything, the quick exchange of phones, the typing, the smile, the nod. He gave her his number, right there, while his pregnant wife was sitting alone at a table 20 feet away. My heart was pounding in my chest. My hands were shaking. I felt like I was going to be sick. Michael returned to the table 5 minutes later, looking energized in a way he hadn't been in months. "Is everything okay?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, fine," he said, picking up his phone and smiling at the screen. "Just needed to wash my hands." He was texting her, already, right in front of me. I couldn't eat another bite. I sat there in silence while Michael texted with someone else, while my babies kicked inside me, while my world crumbled around me. That night, while Michael was in the shower, I looked at his phone. I know it was a violation of privacy. I know I shouldn't have, but I needed to know. I needed confirmation of what I already knew in my heart. Her name was Chloe Mitchell, and they had already exchanged dozens of messages. "You're even more beautiful in person," Michael had written. "You're not so bad yourself," she had replied. "When can I see you again?" "Soon. I'll figure something out." "What about your wife?" "What about her? She's pregnant. She's a mess. She's not the woman I married."
Poor baby. You deserve someone who takes care of themselves. I put the phone down before I threw up. I stood there in the bathroom, my hand on my enormous belly, feeling my baby's kick, and I understood with perfect clarity that my marriage was over. Even if I fought for it, even if I begged, even if I tried, Michael had already left me emotionally. His body would follow soon enough. Over the next 2 months, Michael barely tried to hide the affair. He went out constantly, work dinner, client meeting, networking event. He came home late, sometimes not until 2 or 3 in the morning. He reeked of perfume and alcohol. When I confronted him, he gaslighted me. "You're being paranoid," he would say. "This is what pregnancy hormones do to women. They make you crazy." "I'm not crazy," I said, my voice breaking. "I know you're seeing someone." "You're delusional," he said coldly. "I'm working my ass off to support this family, and you're accusing me of cheating? That's rich, Jasmine. Maybe if you weren't so emotional and insecure, I'd want to be home more." He was cruel in a way that took my breath away. He blamed me for his betrayal. He made me feel like I was the problem. I was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, preparing for the arrival of twins, and my husband was having an affair. I told my mother. "Leave him," she said immediately. "Come stay with us. We'll take care of you and the babies." "I can't," I said. "Not yet, not like this. I need to give birth first. I need to make it through this, and then I'll figure out what to do." "Jasmine, you don't deserve this," my mother said, her eyes filled with tears. "You don't deserve to be treated this way." "I know," I whispered, "but right now I just need to survive. I need to bring these babies into the world safely, and then I'll deal with Michael." I went into labor at 38 weeks, early but not dangerously so for twins. My water broke at 3 a.m. I was alone in bed.
Michael was working late again, which I knew meant he was with Chloe. I called my mother first. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking, "my water broke." "I'm on my way," she said immediately. "Have you called Michael?" "I'm about to," I said. I called Michael. He answered on the 5th ring, his voice groggy and annoyed. "What?" he said. "My water broke," I said. "I'm in labor. I need you to come home and take me to the hospital." There was a pause, a long pause. "Now?" he said. "Yes, now," I said, disbelieving. "I'm having the babies, Michael. Your babies. Now." Okay, I'm on my way. Give me 30 minutes. 30 minutes, I said. "Where are you?" "Out," he said. "I'll be there soon." He hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed, contractions beginning to roll through me like waves, and I understood that he had been with her. He had been with Chloe when his wife went into labor. My parents arrived before Michael did. My father took one look at me and his face hardened. "Where is he?" he said. "On his way," I said, trying to breathe through a contraction. Michael showed up 45 minutes later, his hair messy, his clothes rumpled, he smelled of perfume. My father looked like he wanted to hit him. "Let's go," Michael said, grabbing the hospital bag I had packed weeks ago. The labor was long and difficult. Twins are complicated. I was in labor for 14 hours. Michael was there physically, but he was on his phone the entire time, texting, smiling, laughing at messages while I was crying in pain. My mother was the one who held my hand. My mother was the one who coached me through contractions. My mother was the one who wiped my forehead and told me I was strong. Michael was in the corner, texting Chloe. I gave birth to my son first, Malik Robert Williams, weighing 5 pounds 8 ounces. He came out screaming, perfect and beautiful. 20 minutes later, I gave birth to my daughter, Maya Sarah Williams, weighing 5 pounds 2 ounces. She came out quietly, looking around with wide, curious eyes. I held them both, one in each arm, and I cried tears of joy and exhaustion and heartbreak. Michael held each baby for about 30 seconds, took a few obligatory photos, and then sat back down on his phone. 2 hours after I had given birth, while I was trying to nurse 2 babies and figure out how to keep them both alive, Michael stood up. "I have to get back to the office. Big project deadline. I'll be back later." "You're leaving?" I said, incredulous. "I just gave birth to twins. Your twins." "Yeah, and they're fine," he said. "You're fine. The nurses are here if you need help. I really have to go." And he left. He went straight to Chloe's apartment. I know because I later saw the text messages where he told her he couldn't stand being in that hospital for another minute. My father sat down in the chair next to my hospital bed, his face filled with rage and sorrow. "Say the word," he said, "and I will make his life very difficult." "Not yet, Dad," I said, looking down at my babies. "Not yet, but soon." The first 6 months of the twins' lives were the hardest of my life. I was effectively a single mother. Michael was never home. When he was home, he was useless, sleeping, watching TV, or on his phone. He didn't help with feedings. He didn't help with diaper changes. He didn't help with the sleepless nights when one twin would wake up screaming, which would wake up the other twin, which meant I was awake for hours trying to comfort them both. I was exhausted in a way I didn't know was possible. I was running on 2 or 3 hours of broken sleep per night. My body was still healing from the birth. My breasts were sore from breastfeeding. My hormones were all over the place. And Michael was cruel. "God, you look like hell," he said one morning when I was walking around in sweatpants and a stained t-shirt, my hair in a messy bun, my eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "I've been up since 2 a.m. with the babies," I said, my voice hollow. "Maybe if you helped, I wouldn't look so tired." "That's what mothers do," he said dismissively. "You wanted kids. This is what it takes." "You're their father," I said. "You're supposed to help." "I'm working," he said. "I'm providing. That's my role. Your role is to take care of the house and the kids. Don't try to make me feel guilty because you can't handle it. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to throw something, but I was too tired, too broken. I called my mother and sobbed. "Come home," begged my mother. "Please, Jasmine, come stay with us. Let us help you." "I will," I said, "soon. I need to find the right moment." The cruel comments continued daily, relentlessly. "God, you used to be so hot," Michael said one evening, watching me struggle to get my pre-pregnancy jeans to button. "Look at you now. You're huge." "I gave birth to 2 children 6 months ago," I said, my voice shaking. "My body created life. Maybe instead of criticizing me, you could appreciate what I've done." "I appreciate it," he said sarcastically. "I appreciate that my wife is now a fat, exhausted mess who can't even make herself presentable." "Get out," I whispered. "What?" "Get out," I said louder. "Get out of this room, get out of my sight." He left, slamming the door behind him. I looked at myself in the mirror. I had gained weight, about 30 pounds more than my pre-pregnancy weight. My belly was soft and stretched. My breasts were larger from breastfeeding. My hormones were all over the place. But I had grown 2 human beings. I had pushed 2 lives into this world. I was keeping 2 babies alive with my body, with my milk, with my love.
I was a goddamn warrior. Michael couldn't see it, but I was starting to. When the twins were 8 months old, Michael came home on a Saturday morning with an announcement. "Get the kids ready," he said. "We're going out for lunch." "Out for lunch?" I said, surprised. "With the twins? Michael, that's really hard. They're still so little. They don't do well in restaurants." "I don't care," he said. "We're going. Get them ready, and make yourself presentable." There was something in his tone that made my skin crawl, something cold and deliberate. But I was so desperate for any semblance of family normalcy that I agreed. I dressed the twins in cute matching outfits, Malik in a little polo shirt and khakis, Maya in a floral dress. I put bows in Maya's hair. I made them look adorable. I put on a nice dress, not tight because my body still wasn't what it used to be, but flattering. I did my makeup. I tried to look like a put-together mother and wife. Michael drove us to a trendy restaurant in uptown Charlotte, the kind of place that was definitely not designed for babies. It was loud, busy, full of young professionals and couples on dates. I felt uncomfortable immediately. The twins sensed my discomfort and started fussing. We were seated at a table near the center of the restaurant. I tried to settle the twins in their portable high chairs, giving them toys and snacks to keep them occupied. Michael sat across from me, looking at his phone, his leg bouncing with nervous energy. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Fine," he said, not looking up. And then she walked in. Chloe. She was even more beautiful than I remembered. She wore a white dress that hugged her body perfectly. Her hair was styled in loose waves. She looked like she had just stepped out of a fashion magazine. And she walked straight to our table. "Well, well," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Michael, fancy seeing you here." Michael's face flushed. "Chloe, hi, I didn't know you'd be here." That was a lie. This was planned. This entire thing was planned. "And you must be Jasmine," said Chloe, turning to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I've heard so much about you." I looked at Michael. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "I'm sorry," I said, carefully, my heart pounding. "Do I know you?" "Oh, you don't know me," Chloe said, laughing, "but I know you. Michael talks about you all the time." People at nearby tables were starting to look at us. "Michael, what's going on?" I asked, my voice tight. Michael started. "I'm his girlfriend," Chloe said, loud enough that several tables could hear. "Well, more than that, really. We've been together for over a year. We're in love." The restaurant seemed to go quiet. Everyone was watching now. I felt my face burn with humiliation.
"You brought me here for this?" I said to Michael, my voice shaking. "You brought your wife and children here so your mistress could humiliate us?" "I wanted you to know the truth," Michael said, finally looking at me. His face was cold. "I wanted you to understand that I'm done. I'm done with this marriage. I'm done pretending." Chloe leaned against the table, looking down at me with undisguised contempt. "I mean, look at you. Michael showed me pictures of what you looked like when you got married. You were pretty then. But now, you're a mess. You let yourself go the moment you got pregnant." "I had twins," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "And you got fat," Chloe said, bluntly. "You have stretch marks, you look exhausted, you look like a frumpy mom who's given up. Michael deserves someone who takes care of herself, someone who's still attractive, someone who's exciting." Tears were streaming down my face. The twins were both crying now, sensing my distress. "Look, even your kids are ugly criers," Chloe said, laughing. "Do they ever shut up?" That snapped something inside me. I stood up. I calmly wiped my eyes. I picked up the diaper bag and put it over my shoulder. "You're right about one thing," I said to Chloe, my voice suddenly steady. "This marriage is over." I looked at Michael. "You will be hearing from my lawyer, and you will deeply regret what you just did." I lifted Maya out of her high chair and secured her on my hip. I grabbed the handle of Malik's high chair and started pushing it toward the exit. The entire restaurant was silent, watching. As I reached the door, I turned back one more time. "Enjoy your prize, Chloe. I hope he's worth it." And I walked out with my head held high, even though I was crying, even though I was shaking, even though I felt like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. I drove straight to my parents' house. When I arrived at my parents' house, I was sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. My mother heard my car pull up and came running out of the house. "Jasmine, baby, what happened?" I couldn't speak. I just held onto her and cried while the twins cried in their car seats. My father came out and immediately started getting the twins out of the car, soothing them, bringing them inside. My mother guided me into the house and sat me down on the couch. "Tell me what happened," she said. Through tears and gasps, I told her everything. The setup, the restaurant, Chloe, the humiliation, Michael's coldness, the entire horrible, degrading experience. My father's face grew darker and darker as I spoke. By the time I finished, he looked like he was ready to commit murder. "I'm divorcing him," I said. "I'm done. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs. I'm done." "Good," my father said. "You should have done it months ago." "I know," I whispered. "I was just trying to make it work. I was trying to give the twins an intact family. But I can't. I can't do this anymore." My mother held me while I cried. After a while, when I had calmed down slightly, my father sat down across from me, his voice serious. "Jasmine," he said, "there's something your mother and I need to tell you. We should have told you before, but we wanted to wait for the right time. I don't think there's going to be a right time, so we need to tell you now." I looked up at him, confused. "Tell me what?" He exchanged a look with my mother. She nodded. "Your mother and I have been very fortunate in our lives. The company I started, Williams Logistics, has grown significantly over the past 30 years. "I know, Dad," I said. "You've done really well." "It's more than well, sweetheart. The company is now worth approximately $120 million. It's one of the largest private logistics companies in the Southeast." I stared at him. That was much more than I thought. "And your mother's family land," he continued, "the property her grandfather left her. That land is now in the heart of Charlotte's commercial district. It's been appraised at $45 million. My mouth fell open. "And we've invested wisely over the years, in real estate, in stocks, in various ventures. Our total net worth is approximately $180 million. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't process what they were saying. "We set up a trust for you years ago," he said. "We wanted you to build your own character first, to find someone who loved you for you, not for your potential inheritance. We wanted you to understand the value of hard work and humility." He pulled out a folder from the drawer in the coffee table. "This is yours," he said. "This is your trust. You are the sole beneficiary. You have access to $30 million in liquid assets, plus 40% ownership of Williams Logistics." I opened the folder with shaking hands. I looked at the documents, the numbers. "Does Michael know?" I whispered. "No," my mother said firmly. "We never told him. We never told anyone. We wanted to protect you. We wanted to make sure whoever you married loved you for you, not for what you might inherit." I started laughing. It was almost hysterical laughter, the kind that comes from shock and disbelief. "He left me because he thought I was worthless," I said. "He cheated on me because he thought I was just a broke schoolteacher with nothing to offer. He humiliated me because he thought I was powerless." "And now," my father said, a cold smile spreading across his face, "he's going to find out just how wrong he was." "But you're not going to tell him yet," my mother said. "First, we're going to handle the divorce. We're going to make sure you have full custody of the children. We're going to make sure he pays child support. And then, when the time is right, he'll find out what he gave up." I looked down at the twins, sleeping peacefully in their portable bassinets. They had no idea what their father had done. They had no idea that their mother was secretly an heiress. "I want to destroy him," I said quietly. "Is that wrong?" "No," my father said. "It's called consequences, and he's about to learn all about them." I met with a lawyer first thing Monday morning. My parents had connected me with one of the best family law attorneys in North Carolina, a woman named Margaret Chen, who had a reputation for being ruthless but fair. "Tell me everything," Margaret said, sitting across from me in her sleek downtown office. I told her everything: the affair, the neglect, the emotional abuse, the public humiliation. I had screenshots of text messages. Michael had been too arrogant to delete them all. I had the testimony of my parents who had witnessed his neglect. I had the restaurant staff who had seen the confrontation with Chloe. "This is a strong case," Margaret said. "We'll file for divorce immediately. We'll seek full custody with supervised visitation for the father. We'll seek child support, and given his behavior, the judge will be very sympathetic." "I don't want his money," I said. "I want custody of my children, and I want him to be held accountable." Margaret looked at me carefully. "Your parents told me about your trust, about your financial situation. Does that need to be disclosed?" I asked. "Not yet," she said. "The trust is in your name, but it's structured in a way that it doesn't need to be included in marital assets for division purposes. Your parents were very smart about that. So no, Michael doesn't need to know about it during divorce proceedings." "Good," I said. "I want him to think I'm just a broke single mother. I want him to think he got the better deal." Margaret smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who recognized justice about to be served. "Oh, this is going to be satisfying," she said. The divorce papers were filed on Wednesday. Michael was served at his office. He called me immediately, furious. "You're divorcing me? After everything I've done for you? After I supported you through your pregnancy? You abandoned me during my pregnancy. You cheated on me. You neglected our children. You humiliated me in public. I'm divorcing you, Michael, and you're going to sign the papers without a fight, or I will drag every detail of your affair through court." "You can't afford a good lawyer," he mockingly said. "You're a school teacher. I'll bury you in legal fees." "Try me," I said, and hung up. Michael did try to fight it. He hired a lawyer, a mediocre one that he probably couldn't afford, and tried to claim he deserved joint custody, tried to claim I was an unfit mother, tried to paint himself as the victim. But Margaret destroyed him. She presented evidence of the affair. She showed text messages where Michael called me degrading names. She brought in my parents to testify about his neglect. She brought in the restaurant manager who had witnessed Chloe's attack. "Mr. Davis," the judge said during the hearing, "you have shown a pattern of behavior that suggests you are not prepared to be a primary caretaker for these children. The court awards full custody to Mrs. Williams with supervised visitation for you every other weekend." Michael's face went red. "That's not fair. They're my kids too." "You should have thought about that before you abandoned them," the judge said coldly. "Child support is set at $2,000 per month. Court dismissed." Michael was furious, but he signed the papers. He had no choice. The divorce was finalized in 3 months. I was free. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I went to my father's office at Williams Logistics. "Dad," I said, "I need a favor." "Anything," he said. "Michael works at Henderson Financial Group. It's a mid-sized investment firm downtown. I want to buy it." My father looked at me for a long moment, and then he smiled. "I love the way you think," he said. "Let me make some calls." It took about a month to arrange. Henderson Financial Group was actually struggling financially. They had made some bad investments and were looking for an infusion of capital, or a buyout. My father's connections made the introduction. I came in as an interested investor, represented by my father's legal team. The CEO, John Henderson, was thrilled to meet with potential investors. He had no idea who I was. "We're very excited about the opportunity to bring in fresh capital," he said, showing us around the office. "We have a strong team here, good fundamentals, just need some strategic support." "I have one condition." "What's that?" John asked. "I want complete control over hiring and firing decisions. If I'm investing my money, I want to ensure the company is staffed with people who align with my values." "Of course," John said eagerly. "That's completely reasonable." The deal was signed. I acquired 60% ownership of Henderson Financial Group for $15 million. It was a good investment. The company was undervalued and had strong potential with the right management. But I wasn't just investing. I was setting the stage. I gave it 2 weeks after the acquisition closed. I wanted Michael to feel secure, to think his life was stable, to settle into his routine with Chloe. And then I struck. On a Tuesday morning, I walked into Henderson Financial Group dressed in a tailored navy suit, my hair styled professionally, my makeup flawless. I looked like the successful businesswoman I was. I walked past the receptionist, who didn't know me yet, and went straight to John Henderson's office. "Ms. Williams," he said, standing up to greet me, "I wasn't expecting you today." "I wanted to discuss some personnel changes," I said, sitting across from him in her sleek downtown office. "Of course," he said, pulling out a notepad. "What did you have in mind?" "I want to terminate Michael Davis immediately, today." John's eyebrows rose. "Michael Davis? He's actually one of our top performers. May I ask why?" "Because he's a liability. He has poor character. He abandoned his wife and children. He humiliated the mother of his children. He's shown that he lacks integrity and judgment. I don't want people like that representing my investment." John was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No, Ms. Williams, we don't have a problem. I'll handle it personally." "Thank you," I said, standing up. "And John, when you tell him he's fired, make sure he knows exactly why." An hour later, Michael was called into John's office. I wasn't there for that conversation, but John told me about it later. "Michael," John said, "we need to discuss some changes."
"Changes?" Michael had said, relaxed and confident. "Are we talking about the promotion? Because I think I've definitely earned it after this quarter's numbers." "We're letting you go," John said. Michael's smile had frozen. "What?" "You're terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out." "You can't fire me," Michael had said, his voice rising. "I'm your top earner. This is illegal." "It's not illegal," John said calmly. "We have concerns about your judgment and professionalism.
And more importantly, our new majority shareholder has specifically requested your termination." "New shareholder?" Michael said. "Who?" John turned his computer screen around. On it was the press release that had gone out that morning. Jasmine Williams, heiress to Williams' logistics empire and philanthropist, acquires majority stake in Henderson Financial Group. There was a professional photo of me. I was wearing the same navy suit I had worn that morning. I was holding the twins, who were now toddlers, and smiling confidently at the camera. Michael stared at the screen. The color drained from his face. "Jasmine?" he whispered. That's impossible. She's a teacher. She's broke. Her family is nobody." "Her family owns one of the largest logistics companies in the region," corrected John. "Her parents are worth approximately $180 million, and Jasmine herself is worth approximately $30 million personally, plus ownership stakes in multiple companies." "No," Michael said, shaking his head. "No, that's not possible. I would have known. She would have told me." "She didn't tell you because she wanted to make sure you loved her for who she was, not for her money. And you failed that test spectacularly." Michael slumped back in his chair, his face pale. "She's the one who fired me?" It wasn't a question. "Yes," John confirmed. "She made it very clear that she doesn't want you associated with any company she owns. And between you and me, Michael, I don't blame her. What you did to her, abandoning her during pregnancy, cheating on her, humiliating her publicly, that shows a fundamental lack of character. I'm disappointed I didn't see it sooner." "I need to talk to her," Michael said desperately. "I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain," John said. "Security is outside. They'll escort you out. You have 15 minutes to pack your desk. And Michael, Ms. Williams has made some calls. You're going to find it very difficult to find employment at any reputable firm in this city. Her network is extensive." Michael stood up on shaky legs. "This is revenge," he said weakly. "This is just revenge." "No," John said. "This is consequences." Michael tried to call me. I had blocked his number months ago. He tried to come to my parents' house. Security turned him away. He tried to show up at the twins' daycare. The staff had been instructed not to let him take the children outside of his supervised visitation schedule. He sent letters, emails, messages through mutual acquaintances. All of them said the same thing. He was sorry, he made a mistake, he wanted another chance. But I was done. More importantly, his life was falling apart. Without a job, he couldn't afford his apartment. He couldn't afford his car payments. He couldn't afford the lifestyle he had been living. And Chloe? Chloe left him immediately. I heard through mutual friends, because Charlotte is a small city in many ways, that the conversation went something like this. "What do you mean you got fired?" Chloe had screamed at him. "I got fired," Missable said, "because of Jasmine. She owns the company now. She's rich, Chloe. She's really fucking rich, and I didn't know. I never knew. You told me she was nobody. You told me she was just a broke teacher. You told me you were the one with the career and the money." "I thought I was," Missable said. "I had no idea about her family's money. She never told me. She never acted like she had money. So you left a multi-millionaire heiress for me, and now you're broke and unemployed?" "I'm going to find another job," Missable said desperately. "I just need some time. Please, Chloe, don't do this." "Do what?" Chloe said. "I'm not doing anything. I'm just being honest. I didn't sign up to date a broke loser who got fired by his ex-wife. That's embarrassing, Missable. You're embarrassing." "But I thought you loved me," Missable said. "I loved what you represented," Chloe said coldly. "I loved that you had a good job and money and prospects, but you don't have any of that anymore. So no, I don't love you. I never really did." She left him that night.
Missable moved into a studio apartment in a bad part of the town. He applied for jobs all over Charlotte, but word had spread. No reputable firm wanted to touch him. He eventually got a job as a car salesman at a used car dealership. It was a far cry from his previous position. He had lost everything. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was at a park with the twins. They were 15 months old now, toddling around on their chubby little legs, exploring everything with wide-eyed wonder. Maya was fascinated by flowers. She kept picking dandelions and bringing them to me like they were precious gems. Malik was obsessed with dogs. Every time he saw one, he would point and shriek with joy. I was pushing Malik on the baby swings when I noticed a man sitting on a bench about 50 feet away, watching us. It was Michael. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, but not in a healthy way. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair was unkempt. He looked like a man who had aged 10 years in 6 months. He stood up slowly and walked over. "Jasmine," he said. His voice was hoarse. "Michael," I said calmly. I took Malik out of the swing and held him on my hip. Maya toddled over and grabbed my leg. "They've grown so much," Michael said, looking at the twins with tears in his eyes. "They're so big now." "Yes," I said. "Children grow. That's what they do." "Jasmine," he started, and then his voice broke. "I need to talk to you, please. Just give me 5 minutes." I looked at him. I looked at the man who had promised to love me forever, who had abandoned me when I needed him most, who had humiliated me in public, and I felt nothing. No hate, no anger, not even pity, just nothing. "You have 3 minutes," I said. He looked startled, like he hadn't expected me to agree. "I made a mistake," he said, the words tumbling out quickly. "The biggest mistake of my life. I was an idiot. I was shallow and cruel, and I didn't see what I had. I didn't appreciate you. I didn't appreciate our family." "You're right," I said. "You didn't." "I know," he sobbed. "I know, and I've paid for it. I've lost everything. My job, my apartment, Chloe, everything." "You lost those things because of your choices, not because of me. I didn't make you cheat. I didn't make you abandon your pregnant wife. I didn't make you humiliate me in a restaurant. Those were your choices." "I know," he sobbed. "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please, Jasmine, please give me another chance. Not because of the money. I swear I don't care about the money. I just want my family back. I want you back. I want to be a father to these beautiful children." "You can be a father to them on your scheduled visitation days, if you show up sober and on time, which you haven't been doing, by the way." I know. I've been a mess, but I can change. I can be better. Please, Jasmine, please." Maya started to cry, disturbed by the strange man on his knees in front of her mama. I picked her up and held both twins, one on each hip. "Michael," I said quietly, "do you remember what you said to me at that restaurant when you and Chloe were humiliating me?" He looked down at the ground. "You said I let myself go. You said I was fat and ugly and boring. You said you couldn't stand to touch me because of my stretch marks." "I didn't mean it," he whispered. "Yes, you did," I said. "And do you know what? You were right about some of it. My body did change after pregnancy. I do have stretch marks. I did gain weight. I do look different than I did when we got married." I paused. "But you know what else? My body grew 2 human beings. My body sustained their lives. My body brought them into this world. My body fed them. My body is powerful and beautiful and strong, regardless of what it looks like. And the fact that you couldn't see that, the fact that you reduced me to just my appearance, tells me everything I need to know about your character." "I see it now," he said desperately. "I understand now. You're beautiful. You're incredible. You're the most amazing woman I've ever known." "Now you see it," I said, "because now you know I'm rich. Now you know I have power. Now you know I have value beyond just being your wife. But when I was just Jasmine, just a teacher, just a mother, just a woman doing her best, I wasn't enough for you." "That's not true," he said, but his voice was weak. "It is true," I said. "Michael, I don't hate you. I don't even really think about you anymore. You're just the biological father of my children. That's all you are to me now." "Please," he begged, "please don't say that. We had something real once. We loved each other once." "Yes," I said, "we did. And then you destroyed it. You destroyed it with your selfishness and your shallowness and your cruelty. And now you have to live with that." I adjusted the twins on my hips and started walking toward my car. "You can see the kids," I said over my shoulder, "every other Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., supervised by my parents at their house, if you show up sober and on time. If you miss 3 visits, I will petition the court to revoke your visitation rights. Those are the terms." "Jasmine, wait." "Goodbye, Michael," I said. I put the twins in their car seats, got in my car, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see him kneeling in the grass, his head in his hands. I felt nothing. In the year following the divorce, I made some significant changes to my life. First, I quit teaching. I loved teaching, but with the twins and my new responsibilities, I needed more flexibility. Plus, I had other plans for how I wanted to use my resources. I took a leadership position at Williams Logistics. My father was grooming me to eventually take over the company, and I was learning the business from the ground up. It was challenging and exciting, and I discovered I had a natural talent for operations and strategic planning. I also started a foundation, the Jasmine Williams Foundation for Single Mothers. The mission was to provide financial assistance, childcare support, job training, and legal aid to women who had been abandoned by their partners. I want to help women who are where I was, women who feel powerless and trapped, women who think they have no options. I want to give them resources and support so they can build better lives. My parents were thrilled. They donated the initial capital to get the foundation started, and I threw myself into building it. We provided emergency financial grants, we offered free or subsidized childcare, we partnered with law firms to offer free legal representation for custody battles and divorces. We created job training programs and helped women get certifications and degrees. In the first year, we helped over 300 women. I also focused on being the best mother I could be to my twins. Maya and Malik were my world. I made sure they had stable routines, loving caregivers, enriching experiences. I read to them every night. I sang them silly songs. I played with them endlessly. My parents were incredible grandparents. They were involved and supportive without being overbearing. They babysat when I needed time for self-care. They attended every milestone. I started dating again, cautiously. I went out with a few men, good men who respected me and treated me well, but I wasn't in a rush. I had learned that being alone was better than being with the wrong person. I went to therapy to process the trauma of Michael's betrayal and to work on my self-worth. My therapist helped me understand that I had internalized some of Michael's criticisms, that I had started to believe that my worth was tied to my appearance or my usefulness to others. You are inherently valuable, not because of what you do or what you look like or how much money you have, just because you exist, just because you're you. It took months of work, but I started to believe it. I also started taking care of my physical health again, not because I wanted to look a certain way, but because I wanted to feel strong. I hired a personal trainer. I started eating better. I started sleeping more. My body did change. I lost some of the pregnancy weight, though not all of it. I toned up. I felt powerful in my own skin. But more importantly, I stopped basing my worth on my appearance. I dressed in ways that made me feel confident. I wore my hair in ways that made me happy. I stopped trying to fit some idealized version of beauty and started just being myself. And I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy.
2 years after the divorce, I was at a charity gala that my foundation was hosting. It was a beautiful event at one of Charlotte's nicest hotels, a fundraiser to support our programs for single mothers. I was wearing a stunning emerald green gown that fit my body perfectly. My hair was styled in elegant curls. I felt beautiful and powerful. The event was a success. We raised over $500,000 that night. I was standing near the bar talking to a donor when I saw him. Michael. He was working at the event. He was one of the catering staff, dressed in a white shirt and black vest, carrying a tray of appetizers. Our eyes met across the room. He looked devastated, humiliated. He was literally serving food at an event hosted by his ex-wife, the woman who had abandoned and humiliated him, the woman who was now a successful businesswoman and philanthropist. I excused myself from my conversation and walked over to him. "Michael," I said calmly. "Jasmine," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "I didn't know you'd be here. I didn't know this was your event." "It's my foundation. I host this gala every year." He nodded, still not looking at me. "How are the kids?" he asked. "They're wonderful," I said. "They're smart and funny and kind. They're doing great." "That's good," he said. "I'm glad." There was a long, awkward silence. "Michael," I said, "look at me." He slowly raised his eyes to meet mine. "I want you to know something," I said. "I don't hate you. I used to. For a long time I hated you for what you did to me, but I don't anymore." "You should," he said quietly. "I deserve it." "Maybe," I said, "but hate is exhausting, and I have better things to do with my energy than hate you." "I think about you every day," he said, his voice breaking. "I think about what I had and what I threw away. I think about how stupid I was, how blind." "Good," I said, not unkindly. "I hope you do think about it. I hope you learn from it. I hope you become a better man because of it." "I'm trying," he said. "I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be a good father when I see the twins. I'm trying to rebuild my life." "That's all you can do," I said. He looked around the room, at the elegant decorations, at the well-dressed donors, at the banner advertising the Jasmine Williams Foundation. "You've done amazing things. You're incredible," he said. "You always were. I just couldn't see it." "I know," I said simply. "If I had known," he started.
"Don't," I interrupted. "Don't say that if you had known about the money, you would have treated me differently. Because that's exactly the problem, Michael. I shouldn't have needed to be rich for you to treat me with respect. I shouldn't have needed to be powerful for you to see my value. I should have been enough just as I was, just as Jasmine, your wife, the mother of your children." He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. I know, I'm so sorry." I handed him a napkin from his tray. "You have a long road ahead of you," I said. "You have a lot of work to do on yourself. But I genuinely hope you do that work. I hope you become the kind of man who would have loved me even if I had been broke. I hope you become the kind of father our children deserve." "I'm trying," he said again. "I know," I said. "Keep trying." I turned to walk away, and then I paused. "Michael," I said, "one more thing. That woman you left me for, Chloe, did you ever love her?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No, I loved what she represented. I loved the fantasy, but I didn't love her, not really." "And do you love me?" I asked. "Now, I mean, after everything." He looked at me with such deep sadness that I almost felt sorry for him. "I love who you are," he said. "I love what you've become. I love the mother you are to our children. I love your strength and your grace. But I don't get to have that love anymore, do I? I don't get to claim that." "No," I said gently, "you don't. That love belongs to someone who earned it, someone who will cherish it, and that person isn't you." I walked away from him for the last time, my head held high, my heart
full of peace. I'm 29 years old now. The twins are 3. They're beautiful, brilliant, funny little humans who fill my life with joy. I run my father's company alongside him, learning every day, building something meaningful. I run my foundation, helping women who were once where I was. I have a full, rich life filled with family, friends, purpose, and love. And I've learned some important lessons along the way. I learned that your worth is not determined by someone else's ability to see it. I was valuable when I was pregnant and swollen. I was valuable when I was exhausted and covered in baby spit up. I was valuable when Michael called me ugly. My value never changed, only his ability to see it did. I learned that people will show you who they are if you pay attention. Michael showed me who he was in 100 small ways before the big betrayal. The comments, the distance, the criticism. I ignored the signs because I wanted to believe in the fantasy, but the signs were there. I learned that your body is not your worth. My body changed. My body will continue to change. Bodies are meant to change. They grow life. They age. They carry us through our experiences. Reducing a woman to her body is the cruelest diminishment of all. I learned that revenge is not about hurting someone. It's about living well. I didn't fire Michael to hurt him. I fired him because he was a liability to my investment. I didn't deny him custody to punish him. I protected my children. Everything I did was strategic and necessary. And yes, there was justice in it. But the real revenge is that I'm happy. I'm thriving. I built a beautiful life without him. I learned that you can't build a life with someone who only wants you when you're at your best. Love means staying through the hard times. Love means seeing beauty in stretch marks. Love means holding your partner when they're exhausted and overwhelmed, not abandoning them. I learned that the people who love you truly will protect you even when you don't realize you need protection. My parents kept their wealth hidden to protect me from predators like Michael, and when I needed them most, they were there. I learned that sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is showing you who they are so you can make an informed choice. Michael showed me exactly who he was, and I chose freedom. If you're listening to this story because you're going through something similar, if someone has made you feel small, if someone has reduced you to your appearance, if someone has abandoned you when things got hard, I want you to know something. You are not what happened to you. You are not the cruel words someone said about your body. You are not the rejection. You are not the humiliation. You are a warrior. You are a survivor. You are powerful beyond measure. And if you're a mother doing this alone, if you're exhausted and overwhelmed and wondering if you can keep going, you can. You absolutely can. Your strength is in the fact that you show up every day. Your strength is in every diaper you change, every meal you make, every tear you wipe away. Your strength is in your love. Don't let anyone make you feel like you need to be smaller to be loved. Don't let anyone tell you that your body is shameful or wrong. Don't let anyone convince you that you are not enough. Because you are. You always have been. And just like me, you're wearing a crown. Maybe you can't see it yet. Maybe it's hidden under the exhaustion and the pain and the doubt. But it's there. You're a queen. You always were. They just couldn't see the crown. That's their loss, not yours.